To all of my brothers and sisters, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And I would like to make a special welcome to our guests. We always begin by saying Bismillah, in the name of the one true creator of all that exists. Everything the Muslim should do in their life is supposed to begin with the name of the creator of all that exists. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that anything that does not begin with the name of the creator has no benefit in it. So we begin with this. And we say about the creator, Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to him. Every form of praise, every form of gratitude, every form of thanks that is beneficial belongs to the creator who created us. And we say, Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. And may the peace and blessings of the creator be upon his noble messenger and all of the messengers in totality. Now, tonight the topic of the discussion is the Islamic perspective on the purpose of life. And I will try my best to stay to the Islamic perspective of the purpose of life with adding in perspectives, other perspectives about life and its purpose where it is deemed necessary for the sake of benefit. Now, I myself was not always a Muslim. For our Muslim brothers and sisters, they know that. But for our guests, I was not always a Muslim. I was born and raised in South Carolina, about 5.5 hours from here, in Greenville. And I was raised as a Methodist Christian. It was not until the winter of 1998, almost over 15 years ago now, that I accepted the religion of Islam. Now, me understanding this concept of my purpose was one of the things that allowed me to understand Islam and see it for the beauty and truth that it was and to accept it. And this is why I am going to bring forward this concept to the rest of you. And for the Muslims, it is beneficial because we ourselves are constantly reminded in the Quran to reflect upon the purpose of our creation. And this is something that we should reflect on. Now, when it comes to the purpose of life, the purpose of life is an age-old question. What is the purpose of our life? It's an age-old question that humanity has had since its early onsets, since the beginning, since people fell away from the pure religion that was Adam, peace be upon him, was created upon. People have pondered this purpose, not understanding why is it that we are here? What are we created for? The heavens, the earth, the humanity, the birds, the animals, the trees, everything. What is it here for? Does it have a purpose? Does it have a reason? Or is it just coincidence that all of this exists? Is it just a random set of coincidences and happenings and perchances that cause this great expanse of creation to exist? And this is something we will ponder upon tonight, and the Quranic and the prophetic example upon this. Now, the purpose of life is something that is of paramount importance. But in order to grasp this knowledge, there is something that everyone has to do. In order to access information, in order to access truth, in order to access guidance, there are two things that must become opened for the human being. Number one, the mind. The mind must be open. The mind must be receptive to information. As it is famously quoted, that the mind is like a parachute. It only works if it is opened. It only works if it is opened. It's like having a glass. The glass must be turned upside right in order for it to be filled. Were it upside down, then the water would be wasted. Also, the heart must be open. The heart must be receptive, meaning that the person's mind must be open to receive the information, but the heart must be also open to receive that information if it happens to be truth and contrary to maybe what they have held to believe. Their heart must be receptive to say, look, if truth comes to me, then I am willing to accept it. I'm willing to accept it. These are the two things that must be open in order for the human being to learn and advance. The mind and heart must be open. Because the mind can receive something that might be truth, but the heart can be averse to it, and therefore the person may reject it. They may reject it based on emotional reasons, based on reasons that this is not what I was taught growing up. This is not what my forefathers practiced. This is not what is normally accepted. Therefore, even though it's blatantly, clearly true to me, I will still reject it and turn away from it. This is quite possible, and it happens very frequently. So both of these things I'm asking you to open tonight, and the Creator willing, we will take this small journey, and I'm going to try to be brief so that there will be an extended time for questions and answers, because after having done this for over a decade now, I have learned that more information is actually, beneficial information may actually be disseminated through the question and answers process than me just up here running my mouth. Now, one thing that has prevented humanity over time from coming to the conclusions of the purpose of life, or even going down the road to trying to grasp the purpose of life, taking a menial answer, or taking a very plain forward answer to the purpose of life, is because of implications. Because when you grasp the purpose of life, when you begin to understand the purpose that you are here on this earth, and the purpose everything is here in this life, it has implications behind it. It has implications. One of those implications is that we as the human being may be required to do something about that information. If we receive this information about why I'm here on this earth, it may be that I will be required to do something about it. Meaning that I might have to change. And one thing the human being is very afraid of is change. We have a hard time accepting change. We like things to stay the status quo. Unless you have a horrible life going on, that is, you might enjoy some change. But the normal human being who's living their life and are comfortable with their life, they don't want to change. Change brings about difficulty, and people shy from that in every possibility. Also, you may be required to adopt a way of life that was not how you were raised. You may have to adopt something else. You may have to change your entire life. You may have to change your entire process of thinking. You may have to adopt an entirely new system. And again, human beings avoid change. It may deviate from things that you have believed to be true for a very long time, which means that you might have to accept the fact that you were wrong. And that is another thing human beings have a big problem with doing. We have developed so much pride within ourselves. We are prideful creatures in that we do not want to be told we're wrong. We don't want to accept that we're wrong. And the older we get, the worse that gets. The worse it gets that we don't want to be wrong. I don't want to have lived 40, 50, 60 years only to come to find out that it was wrong. That it was absolutely 100% wrong, and I have to do something about it and change. So these are some of the implications that prevent the human being from coming to this reality. Now, when it comes to purpose of life, first let's define what does it mean to have purpose. What does purpose mean? And I asked, not as a rhetorical question, but as an actual question. What does purpose mean? Every word in the English language has a definition. What does the word purpose mean? Anybody? Reason?
The goal.
Goals? Meaning? Objective? Absolutely. All of these things have the purpose in mind. What is the reason for life? What is the objective of life? What is the goals of life? All of these things are having to do with purpose. What is the purpose of life? What is the reason of life? What is the objective of life? Why are we here? What are we supposed to be doing? And what is the reason for all of this to exist? Now, when we look at the world around us, everything has purpose. Whether we know it or not, everything has purpose. And some of those things are clear to us. For instance, the sun has a purpose. Without it, we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist as a species. Without the light of the sun, without the heat of the sun, without the sun being the distance from the earth that it is, were it a little closer or a little farther, we wouldn't exist. It is there set for a purpose and a reason. And when rain comes from the sky, it comes for a reason. If the rain never came from the sky again, life as we know it would cease to exist. So this rain has a purpose. This rain has a purpose. Water that comes from the rain has a purpose. Without water, the human would not live more than a few days. We have to have this water. We have to have this. Air. Air exists for a reason. If air did not exist, we would not exist. If air did not exist in the density that it is, we would not exist. You travel a few thousand feet in elevation, you have trouble breathing. You have trouble existing. The higher you go, the worse it would get. So the fact that the air is spread at the density that it is on our level playing field of the earth is the reason why we are able to continue to exist here on this earth. So it has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. And all people have a purpose to their life, whether they know it or not. Whether they know it or not. Some people have not defined this purpose very well, therefore they live life haphazardly. They just take each day as it comes. Just whatever comes, I deal with it when it comes. But everyone has a purpose when they get up. When you get up in the morning, you get up for a reason. You get out of the bed for a reason. If there were no reason whatsoever for you to get out of the bed, if you had absolutely nothing to do and there was nothing to do, you just lay in bed. This is what some people who fall into deep levels of depression do. They lose purpose to life, they lose reason for life, they just lay around in bed. And some people even take their own life because they've lost a reason to live. They've lost a purpose to live. So people who are living, breathing, going about doing their daily activities, they have a reason. Your reason might be to get up and go to work. Might be to get up and go to work. That's why you get out of bed at a certain time, you have breakfast at a certain time, you get dressed by a certain time, and you leave the house by a certain time. A set schedule according to the purpose of you needing to get to work. So there's a set schedule for you to get to work. Your purpose might be to get up and go to school. Same thing, you get up at a time, you get dressed at a time, you leave at a certain time to make sure you're at school on time. There's a purpose to your life. Everything has a purpose. Even animals live their lives with a purpose. Their purpose sometimes may be just to continue to exist. Just to continue to exist. They may do things in order just for the survival nature to continue to exist. There's reasons why animals do things they do. Honeybees, they go about and take from the plants and the trees and the pollen to create a substance that they themselves don't really have much benefit from. They create a very beautiful substance. And actually in the Quran it says that honey is a healing for mankind. It is a sign of the creation of the Creator. These bees create something very beautiful, very beneficial for mankind, with so many antioxidants, so many vitamins, so much potential for the human being. They themselves don't sit around eating tons of honey, but they produce this for a purpose, for a reason, or else they would have no innate nature to do so. But bees everywhere in the world, honeybees everywhere in the world, create this exact same substance. Different in flavor and color and texture depending on what they take from, but there's a purpose and a reason behind it. So, everything has a reason and a purpose. And so to say that humanity, us, the men and women of this earth, have no purpose, have no reason, have absolutely no purpose to be on this earth except but to eat, live, and die. And to say that this creation that we are made of is here due to a random set of coincidences. A random set of coincidences. A random set of happenings that actually, according to logic, according to statistics, is absolutely almost impossible to happen. And we don't have the time to discuss the mathematical equations that would need to come in place in order for the cells that we are made up of to come into existence are a mathematical impossibility to an uber level. But we don't have the time for that today. But I have presented many of these findings online and on my website of these examples. To say that we have no order, to say that there's no reason, is quite unnerving to me now, after being Muslim for 15 years. To say that everything in this creation has no reason is to say that something that has perfect order, the heavens, the earth, the creation, the sun, the moon, the stars, everything exists in a perfect order and harmony. A perfect order and harmony. To say that that happened out of chaos and circumstance is a bit illogical. It's a bit illogical for the human being, and this is the way the Quran proposes it. That it's illogical. It's not in tune with the logic and the mindset that was given to us by the Creator to understand. If you as a human being were to see an enormous, great, grand, majestic building built in Nashville, Tennessee, anywhere, unlike anything else that has ever existed, and you were to go and view that building and look at its marvel, look at its wonder, look at its engineering, look at its design, Nothing like it has ever existed. What would you think as a human being? What are some of the things that you think would come to your mind first and foremost about this building? Who designed it? This would be one of the human being's first questions. Who designed such a grand structure? Who designed such a grand structure? Now, what if I were to come to you and say, no one. No one designed this. You see what happened? You see what happened was, there was a torrential storm that came, a tornado came and picked up bricks, picked up steel, picked up glass on its way through Nashville, tore them all into a huge torrent. And then after this tornado passed, we realized that all of this brick, steel, mortar, all of this glass coming together just formed this building coincidentally. What would you say to me? I have no sense. I'm an idiot. That's illogical. There's no way that could have happened. But you see, this is the haphazard explanation of the creation of the universe for someone who does not believe it has a design. That it happened per chance. Over however many billions and billions of years, does not matter, forget the scope of time, it happened by chance. This perfect order and harmony that we find in the universe happened coincidentally. Well, it would be much easier for that tornado to create that magnificent building by haphazard chance than it would be to create the heavens and the earth out of haphazardness. It's a much easier task to create something very small in the scope of the universe. But this is not something that the human mind would accept. Automatically, you would think there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. When we look at the universe today, and one of the fields that I love to study secularly, beyond psychology, which was my major, is physics and astronomy. Physics and astronomy. Because through the studies of physics, the laws that govern the universe, you start to see the creation process happening before your very eyes. You're able to see deeply into the design, into the structure, into the process of the creation of everything that exists, and the laws that govern it to continue to exist. The laws that govern it to continue to exist. When we look at the universe and the expanse, I'm just going to give you a couple things, because this is a subject I could go on and on and on about and keep you here all night, and wouldn't get tired because it's something I truly enjoy. When there's some recent discoveries that have been made, and I was watching on a show some physicists, astrophysicists, very, very intelligent people. These people held the theory that the universe and everything that exists is part of a haphazard random set of circumstances initiated by the Big Bang. Now, the Big Bang itself is problematic, and astrophysicists have come to learn that it's problematic. Number one, it violates some of the very laws of physics itself, such as inertia, such as the fact that the law of inertia states that an object at rest will stay at rest. It will remain at rest unless it is propelled forward by an opposing object. And then when that opposing object propels it into motion, it will remain in motion unless there is an opposing force that causes it to stop. So the Big Bang Theory, to say that this bang, this motion, was initiated through nothing whatsoever, no force propelled it into motion, goes against one of the very founding principles by Sir Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein about the entire science of physics. But something else has been found through the studies of the universe. Through the advancement of technology, we have developed telescopes that can see very, very far in space. Very, very, very far in space. And one of the old facts that has been learned, that has been a theory that has been determined, is that the universe is constantly expanding. Constantly expanding. And how they figured this out was they learned how to measure the distance of stars by using a light year. By using a light year, the amount of distance it takes for light to travel a certain distance. Light moves at 300,000 kilometers per second. So therefore, a certain distance is a light year. How long it would take light to travel a year. And they measured the distance of stars. And then later on measured those same distance of stars to find out that those stars were getting farther away from us. They were getting farther away from us. Therefore, the universe must be expanding. Well, the so-called ignorant Arabs 1400 years ago knew this, because the Quran says that the universe is expanding. The universe as it expands, and as it expands. But one thing that has been noticed is that astrophysicists were able to formulate that the entire universe is composed of this sort of dark matter and microwave radiation. This is all the empty space of the universe. It's composed of this dark matter and microwave radiation. Now, what they have come to realize, and it was very shocking and astonishing, that in every single part of the universe has two sets of similarities. Number one, the temperature of the universe, the empty matter of the universe, is exactly the same. From one end to the other, there's no change. To the smallest minute 0.000 something percent of grade of Fahrenheit, the universe doesn't change. It's exactly the same temperature. And number two, the microwave radiation that compounds the empty spaces of the universe is in complete uniformity. It is exactly the same. There is not a little bit more matter on one side of the universe than there is on the other side of the universe. There's no more matter in between two galaxies over here than there is between two galaxies over here. It's exactly the same. But that became problematic for these astrophysicists, because the idea of a Big Bang would not create this type of uniformity. We know that a bang creates chaos. Explosions create chaos. And if you were to explode matter, there's no way you could ever make matter explode in a matter that would cause it to fall out uniformly. It would not do this. There would be some over here, some over there, more over here, less over here. So this was a problem. So astrophysicists have come up with a new idea, that there is a Big Bang followed by an implosion, followed by everything being sucked back in due to the force of this explosion. It was sucked back in, therefore all of the molecules were mixed to a perfect similarity, and then re-expanded back into the universe. All of this happened like this, because it just doesn't make any sense. Now we, as Muslims, we know exactly why there is uniformity in the creation. We know exactly why, because it has a design. It has a design. And the designer of this universe and everything that exists created it to be like this, to be perfect. This is an easy explanation. Something that has taken astrophysicists centuries upon centuries upon centuries upon centuries to formulate as an opinion. I, as a Muslim, can formulate that opinion without a second thought. Why is the universe uniform? Because it was designed that way. It was designed that way. If you see a painting that is beautiful, magnificent, like a Van Gogh or something of this nature, then you know that this painting has a painter. There is no painting that exists that does not have a painter. There is no art that exists that does not have an artist. There is no sculpture that was sculpted without a sculptor. Therefore, when we look at the universe, we look at it through this paradigm, that the universe is beautiful, it is magnificent. Much of it we will never understand, most of it we will never understand, but it has a designer. It has a designer, and it all has a purpose. It all has a purpose. If you look at the creation, such as birds, and how they are able to navigate long distances, how they are able to travel long distances knowing exactly where they are supposed to go, knowing exactly when they are supposed to be there. When you see birds in flight and how they are able to and be in tune with one another, they fly exactly perfectly. They don't run into each other. They don't snack each other out of the sky. All of these things is in perfect harmony, order, and they are able to do this through their creation. If you look at bees, as I said before, and how they know when they leave their hive, they know exactly where they need to go to find exactly what they need. And they are able to come back, communicate that with the rest of the hive, and that hive is able to go extract that exact same thing. And bees all over the world are able to do this exactly the same. It's not like they ever came to some meeting and said, look, we're going to do it like this. This is the way we're going to find out where pollen is. They had a big group meeting that we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to teach everyone from now on. This is the way we're going to find pollen to make this honey that we don't even need. No, they just do this. This is just what they do. If you look at the design of the human being, and this is one thing that the Quran implores upon the human being to reflect upon their own creation, to reflect upon their own design. The Quran says, have you not looked inside of yourself? Have you not looked inside of yourself? And have you not obtained from that information enough knowledge to know that I exist? Have you not done this? And this very verse was what pushed Muslims to become some of the first scientists of the anatomy of the human body. Some of the very first scientists of the anatomy of the human body were Muslims, based on the Quran propelling them to do this. And then we became very advanced in the medicine of the internal body. Internal medicine was pushed forward by Muslim scientists and doctors. If you look at how the brain works, and the amount of receptacles in the brain to process information, and this is something that we do without having to think about it. Can you imagine if we had to work our brains like a computer? We had to look for a file, open a program, open a file. Nope, the file's not there. I need to go to this file. I remember I placed it over here. We'd never even be able to put together a sentence. We would never be able to accomplish anything because our brains would not work. We would not be able to function. If you look at the heart and how the human heart begins pumping before it comes out of the womb, it begins pumping very early on in the human being. And this heart pumps continuously, repetitively, again and again and again and again and again. Between 65 and, if you're really overstressed, 130 to 145. If you go over 145 beats per minute, you probably need some medical assistance. But this heart continues to do this, serving one purpose: to continue the blood flow throughout the rest of the body, feeding blood to the muscles so that the muscles work, feeding blood to the organs so that the organ works, feeding blood to the brain so that the brain continues to work. This all happens without us having to think about it. Imagine for one moment if you had to think, pump, pump, beat, 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 and keep a rhythm for your heartbeat. This would be the compendium of your life. Your entire life would consist of you staying alive. Because the moment you would forget, you wouldn't be able to sleep, you wouldn't be able to eat, you wouldn't be able to do anything. Just continue the heart to beat. The moment the heart stops beating, the human being stops existing. Look at the liver. The liver is a fascinating organ within the body, and it is something that the human being cannot live without. This organ performs on a regular basis, minute after minute. It is performing an analysis of the blood that is flowing through it to measure the level of toxicity in the body and to filter out the unnecessary elements that are flowing through the blood that would damage the rest of the body. And it continues to do this every second of every single day without us having to think about it. It is more well in tuned and designed than a human computer can design to pump out this toxicity. And it does it all the time. If we look at the eye, the human eye, the camera of the human being, and its complexity, the millions of parts that it is made up of, performing functions such as adjusting to light, focusing, refocusing, processing information that initially is flipped backwards to the human retina and putting it in a perspective at a blink of an eye, in a light second. It is doing this in order for you to continue to be able to see the world. There is not a camera that has been created that can replicate, even with our amazing technology of camera equipment, there's not a camera that has been created that can replicate the focus functioning and the resolution of the human eye. It's just not possible. It's not possible. So surely, and this is just a very small fragment. This is like a grain of sand in a desert to the amount of information that is out there for the purpose of life from the Islamic perspective. But I have to restrict myself. So surely the conclusion that all of the Muslims in this room have come to, and I myself have come to, that all of this is not random. All of this is not coincidence. All of this is not perchance. It is by design. It is by design. And therefore, if it is by design, and there is a purpose to life, the question comes into play, what is that purpose? That is the biggest question. Not whether or not life has a purpose, because our own logic, when it is allowed to perform its function properly, when we do not interject our own feelings into our logic, when our logic is allowed to process information properly, then it comes to this conclusion on its own. So if life has a purpose, what is that purpose? You see, this is the great question. And this is the question upon which there is so much division. Different religions have branched off based on this question. Different ideas have branched off this question. Different schools of thought about the creation of everything that exists have branched off because of the answering of this question. And to a Muslim, there is no more important question than this. Because without understanding this, without grasping this concept, we are lost. We are completely lost. This is the beginning of the entire religion of Al-Islam. The entire way of life called Islam, which we will end by discussing this word in depth, but the entire way of life called Islam is based upon the principle of understanding the purpose of life. Understanding why we are here. Understanding why we exist. Now, is it all for us to just figure it out on our own? Has our Creator created us for a purpose, and then placed us on this earth for a purpose, and then given us a purpose which is do whatever you wish. Do whatever you wish. Figure it out on your own. You were given a free will, therefore I am going to let you just figure it all out by yourself. Is that what life is all about? Spending the entire resources of why we're here, the entire time, the energy, just trying to make it. Just trying to make it. And some of us would be doing a lot better than others according to this idea. People who are rich and wealthy and famous, well, they figured it out better and they are better than the rest of us. They have made it. And those of us who are poor, maybe humble and destitute, well, we ruined our chances. We had a chance and we screwed it up, therefore it's just over. Is that what life is about? Hedonism. Just doing whatever I can do in my life to make myself happy. To please me. To make me feel good. To make me feel better. If that's the case, then life is pretty screwed up. To be honest with you. Life is pretty screwed up. And if you are one of those people who didn't get your fair shake in life, I don't know why you would continue to exist. Why would you still want to be here? This is why people commit suicide. This is why people take drugs. This is why people drink alcohol excessively. This is why people do the things that they do. Because they're trying to feel something. They're trying to make their life a little bit better than it normally is in reality. And then some people cannot fix it through those means, so they take their own life. That's it. It's screwed up. I can't fix it. Let's just end it. Now, if life was all about hedonism, if life was all about enjoying what you can enjoy, then nobody should have a problem with that idea. Sure, go ahead. Do it. Why not? You look like you're not going to make it very far anyway. You're not doing very good. You didn't win this round. So just end it. There should be no problem with this idea. But we look upon this as something that is bad. People should not commit suicide. This is something that the human reason knows is something's wrong with it. Something wrong with it. Even people who commit suicide know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. They leave letters apologizing. They find ways to do it so that it won't hurt. And things of that nature, because they know there's something innately wrong with this concept. But this would be hedonism. This would be the way of life for it. And people who are terminally ill, what should we do with them? They're terminally ill. They're going to die in 6 months. They're going to die a painful death. Just pull the plug. That should be the concept of the hedonistic lifestyle. This guy is sick. He's going to die. He has a cancer. He's not going to make it. Just pull the plug. Let him go now. Why let him suffer? There's no point to this life, so just pull the plug. This would be the outcomes of this hedonistic lifestyle. Money would be, and property and wealth would be the only achievements. It would be something we strive over. But why is it that, if that's the way of life for humanity, why is it that we're not born with that innate nature? Why is it that that nature has to be taught to us? Why is that? Why is it that nature has to be taught to us if that is the entire ingrained purpose of life? Because if you look at a child, a child could care less. My 3-year-old son, whether I gave him $1 or whether I gave him $100 or whether I gave him $1,000, he could care less which one he has, as long as he gets to eat some macaroni and cheese and he gets to watch some SpongeBob maybe in the afternoon and he gets to go to the playground and play. He's the happiest boy on the planet. Doesn't care about money. So this is something that has to be taught to him later on. It's not innately in the characteristics of the human being to have this lifestyle of only caring about having more than anyone else. This is what we learn through our interactions with each other. We learn this later on in life. Now, the religion of Islam sums up the purpose of life very clearly and simply. But before that, I have to first and foremost discuss a couple of things so you can understand what I mean when I'm coming from the Islamic perspective. Because Islam is not an abstract. And that's one thing that has become a huge problem with the religion of Islam, the way of life called Islam, is that people have taken it and turned it into an abstract idea, meaning that it's up to interpretation and everyone's opinion. Everyone can have an opinion and everyone can have their own interpretation to what Islam means. This is not the case. Islam is not an abstract. It is a constant. And the constant of Islam is that it is solely based upon the teachings from the Creator directly and the teachings of His prophets and messengers directly. And that's it. That's all that Islam is made up of. No one else, no matter how powerful they may become, no matter how much knowledge they may grasp, are allowed to interpret Islam in the light of their own understandings in contradiction to the teachings through the revelations of God and through the teachings of His prophets and messengers. One of the core teachings of Islam and one of the teachings of Islamic jurisprudence is that even if a person were to use their intellect, were to use the brain that was given to them, to come up with an answer to something in the religion of Islam, and they did not use the revelation that was revealed, they did not use the prophetic teachings, but yet they still came to a correct answer. According to the jurisprudence of Islam, they are incorrect. Even though they arrived at the correct answer, they are still incorrect, because the process by which they obtained the answer is incorrect. And if we were to allow that process to continue, human beings would go astray. They would go astray. So, what does Islam mean? What does the word Muslim mean? What does the word Allah mean? And what are the sources of the teachings of Islam? This we will discuss in order to determine the purpose of life. And at the end, I will answer two questions I will define two words that have been twisted, criminally twisted, in the religion of Islam to put fear into the hearts of human beings against the religion of Islam and Muslims. But we have to take some of the blame of it because we should have been forthcoming with this information a long time ago. What does the word Islam mean? Question for the audience. What does the word Islam mean? First and foremost, Islam is a word from what language? Arabic. Therefore, if you want to understand the word Islam, it must come from its original language. English will do no real justice. One word in English does no real justice. Many words in English don't do real justice, but we hope we can get some connotation. What does the word Islam mean? Surrender. Yes, that is what Islam means. Anything else?
Submission.
Submission. Yes, that's what Islam means. Anything else?
Sincere submission to the will.
I heard peace.
Attain the peace
Peace.
through submission.
Peace through submission. Yes, this is what Islam means. Anything else? Obedience. Yes, this is what Islam means. Sincerity. Yes, this is what Islam means. Do you see where I'm going with this? The word Islam has a complex meaning. Cannot be defined in one word. It has a complex meaning. And Muslims need to understand this. This must be understood. The word Islam, coming from the Arabic language, has a root core to it that comprises its meaning, which most Arabic words do have root meanings. Letters, either 3 or 4, that make up the core of this word, upon which many derivatives of the word can be made. Now, the root word of Islam, or the root letters of Islam, are what? Sin, or S in English, Lam, or L, Mim, or M, Salama. Now, the word Salama can take on these many connotations. It can mean peace. It can mean surrender. It can mean sincerity. It can mean all of these things. Now, when we take the word Islam and put it in that context, this is one of the definitions that I got from one of the scholars of Islam that is a beautiful explanation of the word Islam as it comprises an entire systematic way of life. Islam is a way of life consisting of submitting to the Creator of all that exists, with sincerity to the Creator of all that exists, with obedience to His commands in order to obtain peace in this life and peace in the next life. Surrendering, submitting, obeying the Creator every single day in order to have peace in this life and in the next. Because you see, peace is an end result of something, is it not? Peace does not just happen through osmosis. All of a sudden, boom, everybody has peace. No, it doesn't work like that. Peace is something that is worked at and worked at and worked at. And you can't say that you've obtained peace and that's it, we just leave it. No, because then it will fall into destruction again and into chaos again. Peace is something that must be obtained and then worked at to keep. And this is the religion of Islam. That every single day, I wake up to submit, surrender, and obey my Creator in order to have peace in this life and in the next life. And the moment I start falling away from that surrendering, obedience, and sincerity, then I start to lose that peace. And I must come back to the religion of Islam in order to find that peace again. This is Islam. And this is all that Islam is. So for you, for someone to say that Islam is terrorism, for example. Islam is terrorism. Doesn't fit the definition. Does not. These things are as opposites in oil and water. They don't fit. That Islam is oppression. Do these things fit? No, they don't. The definition doesn't fit. So we need to start doing justice to these things. Because if you want to create a new definition for Islam, well then you have to admit that you're making it up out of yourself, because it's not according to the core definition. Now, what does the word Muslim mean? What does the word Muslim mean? One who submits. That's part of that would be fitting in with one of the definitions, right? One who submits. It's part of the definition. Anything else? One that surrenders. Yep, that does fit. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, so let's step back. Muslim is a word from what language? Arabic. So we must understand it again. Now, what is the core word of Muslim? What is the root letters of the word Muslim? Same as the word Islam. Sin, Lam, Mim. Sin, Lam, Mim. But there is a different connotation that is put forward. Now, in the English language, if you add a suffix to the end of a word, if I wanted to add a suffix to the end of a word to connote or to describe that I am a person who is doing a particular action, such as the verb talk or walk, and I wanted to connote in the English language that I am the one doing this verb or action, how would I do that in the English language?
ER.
You add an ER to the end. An ER to the end connotes that I am the one, or whoever I'm speaking about is the one doing the particular action. For instance, walk would become the walker. This person is doing the walking. Talk would be the talker. This is the person doing the talking. There is an exact same grammatical rule in the language of Arabic, but it comes at the beginning of a word and it only consists of one letter. What letter is that? Mim or M. For instance, the call to prayer. When you hear the call to prayer to Islam, and that's what they put on movies, that's what they put on video, anything about Islam, you hear this call to prayer. It is called what? The adhan. The adhan. Now, the person who does that is called what? The mu'adhan. The mu'adhan. The one who does the adhan. The mu'adhan. So if we take that same rule and apply it to the religion of Islam, if Islam is a religion of one submitting, surrendering, and obedience to the will of the Creator in order to have life, peace in this life and the next, and I want to denote or connote or describe that I am the person doing that, I'm the one doing that, I would take the same rule and put an M, a meme, at the beginning of Islam, and it would become what? Muslim. Meaning what? One who does Islam. One who does Islam. So that describes, it's more than just a title. It's actually a description of who I am. It defines me totally. That I am a person who submits, surrenders, and obeys the Creator in order to have peace in this life and the next. So when I tell you I'm a Muslim, you should automatically know everything about me. You should know exactly who I am when I say that I'm a Muslim. And you should grade me on that qualities. That is how I'm graded. Am I living up to that? Am I living up to that? Now, if I go out here in the streets tonight, find a person, and just kill him for no reason, would I be doing the actions of a Muslim? No, I would not. I would not be doing the actions of a Muslim. I would be a criminal. I wouldn't be a Muslim criminal because there's no such thing. Yes, Muslims can be criminals, but at the moment of committing that act, the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, said at the moment of stealing, the Muslim is not a Muslim. They're not living up to the standard. At the moment of taking a life innocently, the Muslim is no longer a Muslim at that moment, because they are stepping outside of the bounds. The adulterer is not Muslim while committing the act, because they are not inside the bounds. So there's no such thing as a Muslim criminal. There's no such thing as a Muslim killer. There's no such thing as a Muslim thief. There's no such thing as a Muslim terrorist. There are thieves, criminals, and terrorists. And that's just the reality of it. So we need to have to understand these definitions. And I think if the American public could understand these definitions a little better, they might be able to make some distinctions for themselves. When hearing news reports, when looking at magazines, when looking at news articles, talking about Islam and Muslims, they would be able to weed out the truth from the falsehood. And unfortunately, there's very truth to weed out. I'll tell you that right now. But you would be able to see it for what it was. That this is a blatant attempt to discredit Muslims and to discredit the religion of Islam for whatever reasons. Now, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. This has happened way before us. This happened to the Indians who first lived in this land. They were put out to be terrorists. This is how they were called. They were called terrorists. This was the same thing that was put out with the Britons. With the people who settled here. According to the British colonies, they were terrorists. The founding fathers of the United States of America committed treason when they signed the Declaration of Independence and became terrorists to the states of Britain. So there's always been this kind of blame game in order to accomplish an end goal. But the truth should be seen for what it is. Now, what does the word Allah mean? We must discuss this because when Muslims talk about the creator of the heavens and the earth, they will more than likely frequently use the word Allah rather than the word God. And there's a reason behind it. There's a reason behind it. The word God means what? You know, in the English language, the word God means something which is worshipped. Something which is given worship. Something which is given adoration. Something that has power over other things. Something that has benefit for human beings. All of this connotes the word God. But now the word God in the English language can be made plural. You can say gods, plural. You can put God in the feminine form, goddess, or goddesses in the plural feminine form. You can change this word. And also the word God means something different to different people. When you speak to someone who is from the Hindu language about God, their idea that comes into their mind might be something quite different than your idea. When you speak to the Christian about God, the idea of God might be something different in their mind. When you speak to someone who is a Jew, the word God might connote something different in their mind. Therefore, this word does not properly describe the one true creator of the heavens and the earth. Now, there is an Arabic word for the word God. There is an Arabic word for something that is worshipped, something that you believe to derive benefit or harm for yourself. Therefore, you give it adoration and worship. What is that word in the Arabic language? Ilah. The word ilah means something that is worshipped. For instance, I can take this bottle of water home, and I can think that it has some power over me. That it has some benefit or harm that can come to me because of my worship to it or not. I can put it on a pedestal. I can surround it with incenses. I can give it worship, and it would be an ilah for me. This would be a God for me because I have given it worship. It is a false God, which in the Quran is known as Taghut, but it would still be an ilah, a form of a God that is worshipped. But when the Creator speaks of Himself, and this definition in Arabic is synonymous that you find in the Hebrew Bible, it is synonymous that you find in the language of Aramaic that Jesus spoke, The word for the creator of the heavens and the earth in Arabic is Allah. Allah. Now the word Allah is a compound word that has the word ilah in it. Has the word ilah in it, something that is worshipped or can give benefit or give harm and things of that nature. But there is something called the definite article or the definite pronoun or the definite prefix, that is added to it, which is what? Al. A-L. And when you say something is al, it is showing that there is only one of them. Showing that there's only one of them. Like if I say the word bayt in Arabic, it means what? House. But if I say, and that can mean any house. Any house could be bayt. But if I say al-bayt, the house, then I am speaking of a particular house. One particular house. So when we say al-ilah, Allah, it means the one true creator of the heavens and earth, the one to be worshipped, the only one who can derive, can benefit or harm humanity. So we say Allah. Now the word Allah is special in the fact that it has no gender. Most words in the Arabic language have a gender. They're either masculine or feminine. The word Allah is neither. It's neither. It's neither. And the word Allah cannot be taken to some other form. There is no plural of it. No plural exists of the word Allah. So when we say Allah, we are saying the one true creator of all that exists. The proper name for God, which in Aramaic, according to the language of Jesus, peace be upon him, would have been Allah. This is what he would have said. And in Hebrew you see Aloha and things of that nature. So when we talk about the purpose of life in Islam, the purpose of life in Islam is that Allah, the creator, one true God of all mankind, created everything. He alone with no helper, with no consort, with no equal, with no counsel, created everything that exists. And He created it all with design. Meaning that if there was such a thing as a Big Bang, and this is how creation started, with a force that propelled it into existence, then we as Muslims would say that that Big Bang, that initiation of creation, was by the creator of all that exists and His word. When He said be, everything existed. And those molecules and particles that went out, every single one of them knew its exact place. It knew where it had to be. It knew where it needed to be. Whether that was over a period of a few moments or over the period of billions of years, that molecule knew where it needed to be. Therefore, we say that the compounds of human beings, the molecules that we're made of, the very building blocks of humanity's existence, were there at the inception of creation. And those molecules knew exactly where they needed to end up in order for human life to exist. The air, the water, the sky, the sun, the moon, everything that needed to exist knew exactly where it needed to be, according to design. According to design. And then the human being himself was fashioned and created by the Creator for one purpose. For one purpose. The purpose of all creation, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planet, the skies, the trees, the rocks, is to worship the Creator of all that exists. Now you might ask me, how can a rock worship the Creator? How can the sun worship the Creator? How can the moon worship the Creator? How can the sky worship the Creator? How can the stars? How does all this worship the Creator when it's inanimate? Much of it is inanimate. Does not have a life that we can concept. Does not have a life that we can concept. Well, the purpose of creation is to obey and worship and submit to the Creator. As we said, we believe that the purpose of His life is Islam. This is the purpose of all life. The purpose of all existence. The purpose of all creation is Islam. Which means what? Surrendering, submitting, and obeying the Creator, correct? Now the sun. Does it obey the one who created it? Absolutely. If it did not, we would not be here. The sun obeys. It is exactly where it needs to be and it doesn't move. It doesn't say, look, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go heat up these planets for a while. It doesn't work like that. It does what it's supposed to do in its design. What about the moon? Does it do what it's supposed to do? Yes, if it did not exist, we would not exist. If it was not there and exactly where it needed to be. If it came too close, guess what? Do you know what would happen if the moon came too close to us? The whole earth would be covered in water, and there would be destruction and earthquakes and all kinds of nonsense. It would cover the earth in water. It goes in and out just enough. There is just enough deviation in its orbit in order to create the tidals, waves that help the world to exist. The trees. We believe that they are Muslim, meaning they submit to the Creator. They're doing their design and their purpose. If not, we might have problems. We'd have rampant trees doing whatever they wanted to do. You'd try to cut down a tree, and it would decide it didn't want you to cut it down, and it would run from you, or it would do something else. Or you would build a house out of it, and then all of a sudden it would say, look, I'm tired of being in this house. I'm going to go be something else. You come home and your house has run away from you. No, it does what it's designed to do, even though it is inanimate. We do believe that it has a design and a purpose and a creation for it, and it submits. Cows, we believe, are Muslims because they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. I haven't seen a mass rebellion of cows deciding that, look, we're tired of you taking our milk, we're tired of you eating us, we're tired of you turning us into leather, and we're not going for that anymore. We're done with that. No, they were designed for a purpose, and in the Quran it says that they are supposed to be for our benefit. We use them. We eat from them. We take from their milk. We use their skin, things of that nature. Therefore, they submit to that purpose and that creation. Everything in creation, we believe, does that, but they do it unwillingly. They do it unwillingly. They don't really have an option in the matter. Because they were created for that purpose, and they were created without will. They were created without will, meaning they just do it. They don't have an option. They don't even think about it. They don't even have the thought process to think about doing, other than what they were created to do. But we believe that human beings were created with a will, with an ability to choose, with an ability to decide, with an ability to think, reflect, ponder, deduce, analyze the world around them in order to formulate opinions, and to formulate theories, and to formulate ideas, and make matters, and decide on matters. And that creation was given that in order to raise them in status. To raise them in status. They were raised in status by this. And the fact that they were able to make this choice. And then the Creator, according to His justice, did not just leave them like that. Put them on the earth, say you can do whatever you want to, figure it out on your own. Because this would be unjust. This would be unjust. Because if I make a mistake, who can blame me for that? If I kill somebody, I didn't know it was wrong. Because you have to understand the values of societies are different from area to area. Things that might be improper here are proper in other places. Like, do you know what the legal age of marriage is in France? Anybody?
13.
We got 16, 17, 18.
No, 13.
13. 14.
I'll Google it.
They might have changed it. But it's been 14 before. In our recent past. Very, very recent. 14. In America, you would go to jail for that. For a very long time. So things that are acceptable in one society might not be acceptable to another society. So who makes the final decision? Who makes the final decision? We say, as Muslims, that the Creator created us, put us on this earth with the ability to choose, and then sent us the way of life that we should live. Sent us the module of the way of life we should live through His prophets and messengers. Starting with Adam, peace be upon him, he was taught how to live his life, and he taught his children. But then eventually humanity did something that we are apt to do. What did we do? Forgot. We forgot. The Arabic word for human being is what? Insan. We talked about this yesterday. What does it mean? One who forgets. One who forgets. So we forget. Therefore, when we would forget, another person would be raised up amongst us, and God would directly speak and reveal to him how humanity should live their life for that time and age. For that time and age. And then the next messenger would come after people forgot and teach people how to live their life according to that time. Because maybe humanity's evolved. Not evolved from monkeys, but evolved in our understanding. Evolved in our societies. Evolved in our civilizations. Evolved in our technology. Therefore, new rulings need to be put in place. And that continued to happen up until the present day with the coming of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who we believe to be the last and final messenger to mankind. But through all of that time and all of those changes to the way of life, there was one core constant between every single one of them. They had one constant core that they taught to every one of their people. What was that constant core? Worship only one God who created everything that exists. Worship the one true creator of all that exists. And then live your life the way He's taught you to live your life. That was the core constant. And we believe that to be the entire purpose of our creation. The Quran says in chapter 51 verse 56, I did not create mankind except but to worship me. Except but to worship me. I created them to worship me. Therefore we live our lives under that submission. And the fullness of that, because people have asked me, if the Muslim's life is entirety of their life is about worshiping God, then why you don't pray all day? Why do you not pray all day? Why are you allowed to go out and do normal things, get married, have fun, play basketball, do whatever you want to do? Why is it that you're not fulfilling your purpose? But you see, that's the beauty of Islam. The beauty of Islam is that as long as I am living my life according to the rulings of the Creator, I am submitting to His will, I am accepting His rule over my life, I am living my life to the best of my ability in accordance to His law, that is worship. That is worship. That is worship, because it is obedience. It is a part of the worship. Part of the worship is obedience. Just being obedient is worship to the Creator. So we live our life in totality of worship. I can be playing basketball and still be considered to be in worship of my Creator. Because I'm not breaking the rules, I'm keeping it okay, I'm not cheating, I'm not knocking everybody out who gets the ball, I'm behaving in a manner that is appropriate, and I'm doing it because I want to be pleasing to my Creator in everything that I do. Therefore that act would be considered worship. I would be worshiping. I would still be worshiping. Even sleep can be worship in Islam. Even going to the bathroom can be worship in Islam, based on the intent. Eating is worship in Islam. Everything we do, if we do it with the proper intent to please the one who created us and to be submissive to His will, it is considered worship. So we are fulfilling our purpose with everything that we do. The companions, peace be upon them, were told by the Prophet ﷺ, and I have to say this very gently because there are children in the room, but he said that you would be rewarded by the Creator for the relations that happens between a husband and wife. You would get reward for it. And you only get reward for things that are considered part of worship. Part of your obedience to the Creator. So the companions were quite shocked by this. That how can we be rewarded for something that we really enjoy? That much. How could we be rewarded for that? He said, peace be upon him, if you did it outside of the bounds of marriage, would you not be punished? They said yes. He said, therefore, if you do it inside of the bounds, wanting to please the Creator, getting married for His sake, then you're rewarded for what happens between you and your wife. You see, the entire Muslim's life is about worship. And this is part of fulfilling the command to worship God. Even in the Bible it is taught to pray without ceasing. To worship, there is an alternate definition for the word in the original language. To worship without ceasing. Worship without stopping. But some of the translators couldn't concept worship without stopping, so they changed it to pray. Worship and pray without stopping. How do you do this? You submit to the will of the Creator and you live your life according to His standards. Therefore you will have a life that is filled with worship. You have a life that is filled with worship. Now the Quran says something very beautiful. And then we'll sum up with these final two words that I was going to discuss. I want to discuss 4 words today. Number 1 was Islam. Number 2 was Muslim. I want to discuss the word Allah, but that was an addition. And there's 2 other words I want to discuss. The Quran says something, and there's more verses than I could put and enumerate in the amount of time that I have, that discuss the creation of the heavens and the earth and their purpose. And you will find this in chapter 3 of the Quran. In chapter 3 of the Quran, in verse 189, it begins by saying, and to the Creator, to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. Meaning that He is the owner, the cherisher, the sustainer. He is the king. He is the overlord of all creation. He is in charge of everything. And He is over all things, competent, powerful, able. He is able to do all things. He is able to do all things. Indeed, the creation of the heavens and the earth, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alteration of the night and the day, are signs for people who have intellect. For someone who has intellect, the creation of the heavens and the earth, the alternating of the night and the day, is enough for the human intellect to understand this design. And there is a story that is laid out for us in the Quran of Abraham, peace be upon him, that shows this very, very well. When he was trying to understand his purpose, he was reflecting and contemplating on his purpose. And he knew that he existed through a design of someone. That this was not just hazard. He knew that there was an ilah, a God, that existed over all mankind. And he wanted to know who it was. So one day he saw the sun. And he said, this sun is pretty powerful and it contributes to our existence. So maybe this is it. And then the sun set. And he said, indeed, if there's a creator of the heavens and the earth, he would not set. My Lord would not set. Then he saw the moon. Maybe the moon. The moon faded away. My Lord does not fade away. The stars. Maybe them. But they fade away too. So none of this fades away. Indeed, my Lord is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Allah alone. And no one can be equal to Him. This was his understanding, and this was put forward to us, that his contemplation of the creation led him to the understanding that it was not anything that is inside of this creation. It is not anything that is inside of this creation that is responsible for the creation and that should be worshipped, but the creator of all of it. The creator of all of it. And for those who remember Allah while they are standing, while they are sitting, or while they are lying on their sides, and there is some beautiful explanation about that, but we don't have the time for that today. It is showing different positions of humbleness. You're not the same when you're standing as when you're sitting, and when you're laying down. It's a different psychology. And they give thought to the creation of the heavens and the earth. So they stand up and they think about the creation of the heavens and the earth. They sit down, they think about the creation of the heavens and the earth. When they're lying on their sides, they're contemplating the creation of the earth, and this is their conclusion. Their conclusion is, our Lord, you did not create all of this without purpose. You did not create all of this without purpose. Exalted are you above such a thing like that. Then protect us from the punishment of the fire. So these people are saying, our Lord, you didn't create this without reason. That is far above who you are. We are acknowledging that. We are accepting that. Therefore, protect us from the punishment of the blazing fire and the hereafter, the hellfire. Now, there are a couple words within the religion of Islam that go to the core of our purpose. They go to the core of our purpose of existence. Without these two things, the pillars of Islam would not stand and it will crumble. It will crumble without these two things. As human beings, we would not be able to exist properly without these two things, and we have proven that. We've proven that. Our history has proven these things. The first word is a word that has been put forward in the West to be banned. That we must ban this thing, even though it doesn't exist in the West. Even though it does not exist in the West, it must be banned. Banning something before it exists shows the amount of true fear. There must be some serious fear behind this thing if we are going to ban it before it even exists. And it's been talked about in Congress. It's been talked about in the Senate. It's been talked about in every state. It's even been banned, I think, officially in many states, has it not? Has it been banned in this state yet?
You have a problem with that.
The problem being banned. Alright. The Muslims know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm asking. The word is what? Sharia. You see? I knew everybody knew what I was talking about. Sharia. Sharia is the boogeyman in the closet. If you don't watch, he's going to come. He's going to come at night and take your soul. Or your head or your hands. Better yet. Sharia. Sharia. Let's ban Sharia. I don't know where Sharia exists in America, but wherever it's at, we need to ban it. Okay. Let's discuss this word and give it its true definition. Because the definitions I've heard being put forward by some of our illustrious leaders is so far from what could be the truth that it's almost comical. It's almost comical. It's comedy. It's laughable. Serious. I've sat there and laughed at it myself. You want to go get a good laugh, Muslims? Go listen to how some of these guys describe Sharia. Now the word Sharia is a word from what language? Arabic. So we got to start there. Let's start there. The word Sharia also has a root, just like the word Islam and the word Muslim does. What are the root letters of Sharia? Sheen, Ra, Ayn, which doesn't have an English equivalent. Shara'a. What does the word shara'a mean? Street, way, path. What is a street called in Arabic? Shari. Shari. So a street, it's a path, it's a way to get from one place to another. Without no shari, without no street, you get nowhere. You'll be wandering in the wilderness, you'll be wandering around. So this is a roadmap for us, basically. Sharia. Now what in Islam is it a roadmap for? It is a roadmap for us to accomplish our purpose. Our purpose is to obey and to worship and to surrender to the Creator, correct? Therefore, we need to know how to do that. How do I obey the Creator? How do I worship the Creator? How do I surrender to the Creator? If I don't know how, if I've not been taught. So the Sharia is a way, a path for us to understand as Muslims how to worship the Creator. Because part of the Sharia is the laws of worship. How am I to perform my worship? The laws of the Sharia also teach me how to buy and sell. So how should I do my business? I should be honest. I should be upright, forthright. I should sell you a product that is worth you buying. And I shouldn't claim that it's something else. I shouldn't lie to you to get you to buy it. All of these things are labeled within the Sharia. Also, in the Sharia are laws of society. How society should function in order to do what? Obtain that peace, to have that obedience, to have that surrendering, to have that submission. That should be the core tenet of society, is revolving around this submission to the Creator, because it will create peace. It will create peace. And also within the Sharia are the laws of crime and punishment. Fiqh al-jinayat, the laws of crime and punishment, meaning people who go against those laws, how do we deal with them? How do we deal with them? It's a compendium, it's complete, and it's complex. So for someone who is not even a Muslim to explain it is almost absurdity. Because 99% of Muslims could not tell you the complexity and compendium of the Sharia. But that is the way to worship and please the Creator. Now also that Sharia is a path to what? It's a path for us to something. What do we want? Jannah, paradise. It is a path to paradise. So in order to be Muslim, you must follow the Sharia, the path that leads you to paradise. If you decide to follow another Sharia, another street, it'll take you somewhere else. So to say that Muslims can exist without the Sharia, and you have to understand some of this is psychologically planned. Because if you remove the Sharia, you remove the Islam with it. You cannot be Muslim properly without it. And there is no such thing as piecemeal Sharia. I'm going to take this little bit, set that little bit over there, like grocery shopping. You know what, I want this, I don't want that. It doesn't happen like that. Someone who does that in the religion of Islam has done something that steps them outside of the religion. You've chosen another religion for yourself and you've created another way. You've created another way. So, as Muslims, would we want to live by Sharia? Of course. Absolutely. 100%. For me to say other than that would mean I have walked out of the religion of Islam right here in this theater tonight. And I'm not in the habit of trying to do that. So we want to live by Sharia. Yes, absolutely. Are we running around enforcing it? No. No. We want to live by it, but there are rules and regulations to establishing Sharia as well. We can't even figure out how we want to run our mosques. So I don't think we're taking over anything anytime soon. But we have to have that. That is part of our process. It is part of our process to understand how to live our lives. And I will challenge anyone, at any time, at any place, with no doubt, with no reservation, that there is nothing that is authentically in the Sharia, the law of Islam, economical, social, crime and punishment, worship, that is not perfect and beautiful and will bring peace and justice to society. Challenge anyone, at any time, any day, find me one and I'll show to you how just and pure and pristine it is. That is my certainty.